Hi, welcome back to another episode of The Edit by Engage Creative. I'm Amy.
And I'm Sophie.
And we run a marketing agency specifically for wedding-based businesses. But before we get started on today's topic, which I'm very excited to talk about because it's external marketing, which actually kind of lends in nicely to this, but we have decided that this year
is the year that we're live. We're in person. I think that, look, we don't actually have an official name yet. So watch this space because
we're affectionately calling it EC on Tour because we want to bring our marketing knowledge, experience, what we have in our course, what we talk about here. We want to bring it to a live in-person event. And I think everyone's craving a little bit of like in-person connection.
I think a lot of people are craving in-person connection. And I think that it's just something that you really can't replicate at the moment, like in any other way than we want to be out there. We want to be making those connections. This is where like the fun stuff kind of starts to organically grow. So it has been a lot of kind of conversations that I've had with, especially like a smaller business that wants to either start out or kind of pick a brain or kind of just meet people. It's something that I've really thought of.
That isn't
for a while.
Just like on the wedding day where you're all like
frazzled chickens trying to set up. I think that we're going to make it a really strategic day or night. We're going to make it really impactful. I want these vendors to walk away feeling like they're empowered with their marketing, to feel like they've walked away from like tangible educational pieces that is like, absolutely, I can do it. And it's not overwhelming. It's not.
No, I think the main thing is that it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it leads really nicely into today's topic because we're actually wanting to discuss marketing ideas and marketing avenues that aren't just your social media, your Instagram, your TikTok. It's actually more external ones that you might not have as much control over. But again, I think that visibility piece is really important and leveraging off other businesses, followers and network can be really important, especially if you are a relatively new business and maybe you don't have a big following yet.
Yeah.
Being able to leverage that. And one of the first ones that we actually wanted to talk about was live events, which is what we're doing. So we're basically following our own advice.
Yeah, I think that 2026, like I said, it is in-person connection. I think it's like building that kind of trust and that, following with your fellow vendors. And what a better way to kind of get in front, making those connections, having champagne, having that small talk, but then, just starting to learn from one another. So, we're really, really excited about doing something
and I think
live.
Live events can either be like being a speaker if you feel like, that aligns and you want to, that's really great if you're wanting to lean into that authority and expert piece.
Yeah.
But also there's live events like wedding fairs.
I was going to say trade events, runway shows.
So again, getting in front of people. What other ones?
Like there's definitely like ones that are, like I know that the Northern Beaches here in Australia has a really incredible community of photographers and they always get together. They always like lean on each other when someone's not available for a date or whatnot. And they always get together and have drinks. So is it as simple as
I was going to say just the networking?
Just the networking. You're getting people that you had a really great wedding with, a couple of weeks ago. Hey, let's actually just grab a drink after work one day and just like catch up.
Yeah, and I think it's those kind of things. Like I know we've done it before with, say, like the Wed Show girls and stuff. Is just picking people's brains and like having discussions. And I think that's one thing that you do a lot just in your like day-to-day business life is I think one of the things is just hearing about different things, whether that's a trend or a feature or something newsworthy, and always kind of thinking like, does that apply to my business? Do I need to does that spark an idea?
Yeah.
And I think that is really important and just like the networking as well from a live event perspective.
Yeah. I think number 2, which is something that is so important, is email marketing.
Yep.
It's not dead. It is actually really important. It is where you have your most loyal community because they actually, instead of a follow, they actually put in their email address. The number of times that I have seen someone flick an email to a friend, hey, look, I was a cousin that got engaged and you should go to this wedding dress designer. Or, hey, look, did you know that this designer has arrived at this boutique or they've got a sample sale? Whatever it is, they are your most loyal followers and they are so invested in your business. So actually it's a thing that you really need to invest in is email marketing and kind of making sure it's interactive. It's not just words. It's fun. It's engaging. Is there kind of different images that you can flick through? Is it ways that you can quickly get to links of lookbooks or whatever it is? It needs to show up in your inbox with a pop.
Well, and I think as well with email marketing, it goes back to our trend like marketing forecast and what we were talking about with lead times.
Yeah.
So your 12-month lead time has like vastly expanded from anywhere down to 3 months all the way up to like 18 months, 2 years. So if someone is taking potentially 2 years to get from like engagement to wedding date,
yeah,
that's a lot more like time potentially that you need to be visible to them and interact with them before they maybe even make a decision. It could be like a year in the making. So how do you do that? Obviously, one thing is like social media and showing up. But if you can also like be aware of that and go, okay, well, I've got my monthly like email that I consistently sent out, or you set up like a welcome email series that obviously is intensive up front, but then still like shows up
at certain touch points.
Month 4 or month 6 or whatever. Again, you're showing up, you're re-engaging with them, and maybe like you might get the timing right that email lands in their inbox and they've finally like sat down with their partner after a year and go, yeah, actually, we're ready to make a decision now. Let's go. Or we've hit that budget goal, like that savings goal that we wanted.
Yeah.
So I think that is really important. And yeah, just with email marketing, I think it's like a hidden
gem.
I don't think a lot of people spend enough time because I think they put it in the too hard basket. But I think there are opportunities to repurpose your Instagram content onto it, especially if you've got, you know, great real weddings that you want to feature or great other vendors that you want to like showcase that you network with or work with. Like that is easy content that you can repurpose into an email form.
I think directories, I think aligning yourself with great directories is another touch point that is really important. I am such a big fan of the bridal journey. I think obviously we interviewed her last season, but what she's doing at the moment is a real kind of, she's a trailblazer in the category. I think she's showing up as like what's on trend, what's cool, what the current brides are talking about, and aligning yourself with a directory or a vendor or an expo or a fair or whatever it is. Aligning yourself with those kind of external platforms really helps your overall marketing.
Yeah, and I think Bridal Journey is obviously one of them. You've got, you know, I'm going to say Australia specific at the moment, but you've got your Hello Maze, you've got your, there's also the WED, which I think is a bit more international. You've got the Lane, but then you do have like regionally specific directories, which could be a really good start because again, if you're like geographically restricted to a certain area. I also think directories are really good if you are a relatively new business or in those like early years. Again, going back to like if you don't have a huge audience yet, they can be really good at leveraging their audiences. Obviously, like you have to like play around and budget usually is a key factor in it, but like what they're offering is, so it's a directory listing, it's a social media shout out, maybe it's like a inclusion on an email marketing out to their thing. They're all things that can provide visibility when you're maybe a bit limited or, you know, don't have, say, budget for paid ads and stuff. So that's another thing that I think people maybe forget about or they query because maybe the return on investment is really hard to gauge and justify. But for new businesses, I do think that it's a really valuable visibility piece. Yeah.
I think vendor recommendation lists is...
Oh, they're a hidden one.
They are a hidden one. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's excellent if you are geographically specific, aligning with vendors that you are you're starting to see a trend that your brides are, you know, kind of working with. And I think a great place to start is venues. Venue is the first decision that a couple,
and photographer.
Yeah, they are the first decision that a couple will make. So aligning yourself with a venue that is your ideal bride and saying, hey, look, I would love to get on your recommended list. Here are some assets. What else do you need from me? How can you show up to these venues? Because that is your gold and that is how you start. They will hopefully send out their vendor recommendation list when that couple has confirmed, and that is just getting straight in front of them.
Well, also, it's a social proof exercise as well. Like it's almost like it's a recommendation, but it's not you trying to sell yourself. You're going like, you're saying like this venue has worked with you previously, or like you've been there and they think that, you know, your offering is great or you were great to deal with on the day, and they are happy to provide that recommendation. And I think it's kind of like I try to figure out ways of, like, it's not a direct, like you just promoting yourself or selling yourself. Yeah. It's like someone else
selling on your behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as well the wedding industry is so reputation based. Definitely word of mouth, we all know, is the number one referral system. So that is just another sneaky way of kind of making sure you're a referral.
It's not that sneaky. Again, I just think it's underutilized.
Yeah.
Because people get time poor, and, you know, to create a list of, you know, people that you work with or vendor, like venues in particular that maybe you want to be on that list, like it takes time and everyone's really busy. But I do think like if you can find some time and do the work and get on a few, it can be really powerful.
Yeah, agreed. Well, obviously another topic is podcasts and interviews.
Oh, funny you mention it.
Yeah. I think that, reaching out to people, making sure that you're kind of at the forefront of, hey, could I be interviewed? Or this is something that my business can help, you know, as a service of yours, or what is ways that I can be interviewed? What is your pitch? I think that is a great marketing tool at the moment.
Yeah, and there are a number of like wedding podcasts that their audience is engaged couples, engaged brides who are looking for advice or, you know, information around planning their wedding, what to consider. And I think if you are able to like pitch yourself with some interesting topics or an interesting spin, I'm not saying like, you know, everything is clickbaity, but if you can provide like a new way or a topic that like really has some value and some interest, it can be really attractive to those hosts that are looking for guests.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously host and have this podcast, which we have recognized from an EC perspective as being part of our marketing strategy for visibility. And then we obviously have guests that come on that we can talk about. So I'm not saying like create your own podcast, because it is like a big undertaking, but I think there are definitely opportunities for you to be a guest and to leverage that as a potential. I mean, with all of these, the one thing that I kind of go back to, because they are external, is that you have less control over them actually coming to life. Obviously, like with directories and say live events and stuff, you've got a budget component with your email marketing and stuff, or even like your vendor list, you've got like a time component in terms of like if you value like allocating time to that to action it. And then with podcasts, it's like you're dependent on, say, like the host, similar to like a PR exercise. If you wanted to be featured in a article or something, you know, you're dependent on that person thinking that you're a good alignment and like bringing that to life. So there are some challenges, which I think is why some people shy away from all of the external and just focus on what internally you can control, which is your Instagram and your TikTok and even like your paid ads. But I think with marketing, it's about like creating an ecosystem.
Well, I think that leads me to my next point is like, what are some tangible action steps to like break these situations down to make it like achievable? And I think a great place to start would be doing an audit of your marketing. Funnily enough, we actually have a service that you can do an audit and a strategy, but if you want to do it
for you.
Yeah, we will do it for you. But if you are wanting to do it yourself, audit. You know, are you posting too much on Instagram? Are you posting too much on TikTok?
What is your appetite for it in general?
Correct. Yeah. So just kind of doing an audit of where you see the strengths and also the weaknesses are within your marketing. I think that, you know, testing one idea to not overwhelm yourself. So
I think that's the biggest thing is the overwhelm.
Yeah, and I see time and time again that people are like, I have all these ideas and this is it, and then I sit down and I can't even write a caption. And I'm like, I get it. It's a lot. Like, where do you even start? Or you're overthinking it. So I think just choose one thing and make it bite-sized, and then you can choose another thing next month. But make it kind of test out where you want to go.
Or even just like, and this is something that I try and do, because again, you can get like bogged down in the day-to-day and the admin, but even just like, I find even like an hour.
Yeah.
Like if you can find an hour in your calendar during the week and you spend that hour finding and emailing podcast hosts, or you spend that hour emailing venues to be on their recommended, or you spend that hour emailing to get say like, okay, well, what does a directory listing and a social media post with those directories? Like, just chunk it down to like, what can you actually achieve in that hour? And like you said, it moves the needle a little bit. Like a lot of it is like you need to gather information or you need to outreach, and then like stuff will follow from that. But it's not overwhelming yourself, and that you can actually achieve a lot in a half hour or an hour slot.
Absolutely. Time blocking. I've converted to time blocking. Elisa's are laughing over there because Amy and Elise
I'm about to fall off my chair with the thought that
see my diary. I have to time block now, Amy. Otherwise, I get overwhelmed.
I knew you would all come around to my ways.
Time blocking is great. My calendar, and it's also in different colors as well. So I know what is allocated at what time.
The thing which I would challenge you, which is a little bit off topic in terms of like the external marketing that is the feature of this podcast, but and as business owners, it's what we're dedicating our time to. Like we can time block, and I know we have a lot, but are we blocking out time for the needle moving?
Yeah, of course.
Work.
Yes.
And I think that's something that you and I continue to, I don't want to say struggle, but it's a continual like being awareness of it and actually like dedicating time and effort to it. So like we're even taking our own advice at this point. But yeah, I mean, if you do want help with an audit and strategy of your business and kind of point you in
our girls are so good at it. They're so good. Like the ideas that they come up with, I'm like, girls.
But it can be a good stepping stone, but also watch this space, especially on Instagram and TikTok, because we will have more details about EC on tour very soon, and hopefully we will see you there. But until then, bye.
We'll see you next week. Thank you.